In this video, I'm going to talk about the quotient rule, okay? In the last video, we talked about the product rule. So here I'll talk about the quotient rule. Also at the end, I'll talk about the higher order derivative, meaning that we found the derivative so far, but we didn't find the derivative twice, meaning that you find out the derivative once and then whatever you got, you find out the derivative on that again, okay? That is called the second derivative. So let us do the quotient rule first. Quotient rule means if there is the ratio of the two functions, or fx divided by gx, then how do I find out the y prime? How do I find out the derivative of that? I use exactly same limit definition of the derivative of a function. If y equals to f of x, then what we do is y prime will be limit h tends to 0. You replace x by x plus h minus, just write down fx divided by h. I'm doing the exactly same thing here, right? I replace x by x plus h, that is fx plus h divided by gx plus h minus fx over gx whole divided by h. So now you want to simplify that. How do I simplify? So limit h tends to 0, right? You can write just the same denominator. So how do I do that? You just multiply the denominator with the denominator. That will give you g of x times g of x plus h, right? That's the product of those two. After you do that, you do the cross multiplication, okay, like that. So what do you get? You get f of x plus h times g of x, right? And then there is minus f of x times g of x plus h, right? X plus h, that's what you get. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to use the trick that I used for the product rule, the similar thing. Limit h tends to 0, then what do you get? Let me write down the first one as it is, x plus h times g of x, and let me write down the last one as it is, f of x times g of x plus h. So there is minus sign, right? And then divide by, oh, by the way, I forgot h in the denominator. What you can do here is, this is h over 1, right? So if you do that, then it will be 1 times 1 over h, right? So you will multiply, you'll write like this, h times g of x times g of x plus h. That's what you do. And then so for the numerator here, for this gap part, I'm adding and subtracting something. So what I want to do is I want to do minus f of x times g of x, and then I want to do plus f of x times g of x. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, now let us look at the group, the first group and then this second group. Okay, first two terms are the first group and the last two terms are the second group. Now you take the common thing out. So what is that common there? So the common thing there is, you can write limit h tends to 0. Okay, what is common? So gx is common, so you can write like this, f of x plus h, right? And then a minus f of x, and outside the bracket you write g of x. Okay, and then I want to take minus out. You will see why I took minus out. So if I took minus out, what is left there will be, so I'm taking minus f of x out, negative f of x out, but there is plus, so that is negative times negative, right? So I'm taking one of the negative and fx out, so what is left is negative gx, right? So let me write down negative g of x here, and if I take negative fx out, what is left is positive g of x plus h. That's what I'm doing there. And then divide by, so I am dividing the whole thing by h times g of x times g of x plus h. So next thing I will do is I will split the denominator. When I split the denominator, you see that whenever I split the denominator, you see that since limit h is 0, so you will see that this will be f prime of x, right? And then that h with that thing, divide by h, right? Divide by that h, basically. That, let me group that way. That thing is basically g prime of x. And when you take the h tends to 0, So you will get gx times gx there, right? So this is what it looks like. So it will look like this. Limit h tends to 0, right? You write g of x and then times f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h times let me write a little bit different way. So what I want to do is I want to write the remaining terms after g of x there, okay? So that's what I want to do there. So g of x times g of x plus h, and then there is h there, okay, and then minus fx over g of x times g of x plus h, okay, times g of x plus h minus gx divided by h, okay. When limit h tends to 0, again that will be, so again let me circle that thing will be f prime of x and that thing will be g prime of x, okay. So how would that look like then? So it looks like this. So g of x times f prime of x, okay. So limit h tends to 0. Let me write f first. F prime of x times g of x over g of x square. Why? Because I'm let me write g of x times g of x plus h for now. G of x times g of x plus h, okay, minus, you can write fx times g prime of x, right? Because that thing is g prime of x, divided by g of x times g of x plus h. So when h tends to 0, that thing will go to 0, right? And similarly that thing will go to 0. So you will get gx square in the denominator, gx times gx, right? That will be g of x squared. So you will see like this. And then since both of the denominator are the same, I am just writing a single denominator. So I will write f prime of x times gx minus f of x times g prime of x divided by g of x square. So this is the formula for y prime, okay. This is the formula for the derivative of f over z. So you can write y prime equals to that way. But if you look at the book, the first couple pages, there are formula. So they have written like this. If there is u over v, and then if you find out the derivative of that, then what they do is they will write like this: u prime v minus u v prime divided by v square. Okay, you see that? What was the product rule? Product rule was u prime v plus u v prime, and there was no denominator in the product rule. But in the quotient rule, there is u prime of v minus in the middle, u times u v minus u times v prime divided by v square. Okay, so we will see some examples and then how to use that formula. Okay, let us look at this example. It is like u, this is like v, right? What is the formula for y prime then? U over v prime. So u over v prime is basically so y prime is equals to u prime v minus u v prime over v square, right? Let's plug in that. What is u prime? So u prime is basically the derivative of 5 sine x. So the derivative of, when you find out the derivative of 5 sine x, then it will be 5 will come out and the derivative of sine x will be cosine x. So you'll write 5 cosine of x times v. V is 1 minus cosine of x minus, the formula is minus there, u times v prime. So u is 5 sine x. What is the derivative of v prime? What is the derivative of v? The derivative of 1 is 0 and then minus derivative of cosine x is negative sine x, right? So you get 0 minus negative sine x will be positive sine x. You see that? So that will look like positive sine x there. That is the v prime divided by v square is 1 minus cosine of x and then square. You see that? Now you simplify that one, okay? So what do you get? If you simplify, you will get, let me distribute that 5 cosine x. 5 cosine of x minus 5 cosine square x, okay? And then minus 5 sine square x. You see that? Cosine, 5 cosine x times 1 is 5 cosine x. 5 cosine x times negative cosine x is minus 5 cosine square x. And minus 5 sine x times sine x is sine x square x. You see that? Divide by 1 minus cosine of x square. Okay? So if you simplify this, what I will do is I'm taking out negative 5 out from the last two terms, so that I will have cosine square x plus sine square x, which is 1. That's my idea there. Okay, so what I want to do is 5 cosine of x minus 5. If you take 5 out from these two terms, actually, if you take 5 out from this term, negative 5 out from this term and that term, then you will get cosine square x plus sine square x. But the value of cosine square x plus sine square x is 1, right? And divide by 1 minus cosine of x square. Let me take 5 out because there is 5 cosine x minus 5. I want to take 5 out as well. So if I take 5 out, you will get cosine of x minus 1 divided by 1 minus cosine of x square. Okay, so what would you do in that case is basically, let me simplify that. So I want to write in terms of 1 minus cosine x because there is 1 minus cosine x in the denominator. So what I want to do is I want to take negative 1 out, so that it will be negative 5 out, 1 minus cosine of x divide by 1 minus cosine of x square. So look at this. They have the terms in common, right? Because there is 1 minus cosine x. That 1 minus cosine x square is 1 minus cosine x times 1 minus cosine x. That's what you will get. Okay. So what is left there is negative 5 over 1 minus cosine of x. That is the final answer. Okay, guys.